And attorney. This meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. Mark Willis, if you'd please come forward. I think you've done this before, so you know the drill.
My name is Mark Willis. I'm the pastor for North Oak Christian Church, a faith community that's been serving the Northland for 50 years. Today is a very special day. While most of our students won't come back to school till next week, North Oak Preschool started today. We have run the preschool for 45 years. We welcomed our new students, and I am happy to say that for the first day, there was no crying from the students or the teachers. Will you please bow your heads with me as I pray? Wise and loving Father God, first let me say thank you on behalf of all those who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. Thank you for loving us even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. I pray for the various levels of city and county officials, in particular for these assembled commissioners. I'm asking that you graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, and personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved Clay County. In your blessed name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Commissioner Withington? Commissioner Lawson? Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Carpenter?
Thank you. That brings us to approval of the agenda. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Commissioner Wagner? Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Thompson? Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now we come to public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the commission on any issues that might be of importance to them? Seeing none. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Mr. Administrator?
Yes, good evening. Consent agenda allows the commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. This may include items that have been reviewed by the commission in prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless the commissioner requests that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. We have one item tonight in the consent agenda, 2025-238, approval of invoice payments for Clay County from the period August 2nd to August 8th. We have a total of 390 invoices totaling $931,439.69. That'd be it for the consent agenda.
Commissioner Johnson?
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter? Commissioner Lawson? Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we move on to our regular agenda. First item on tonight's regular agenda is 2025-187. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-187 is approval RFP 30-25. We have John Davis from our Parks Department, along with a consultant from CMH Government Services that would present our strategic plan proposal.
Please proceed.
John Davis, Parks Director. Several weeks ago, we had a discussion on proposed Parks Master Plan and Strategic Plan. You know, currently we're working off of we're not really working off of, we have a 22-year-old plan that is outdated and it's served its purpose. You know, and to be a better steward of our funds and our park system, we're asking for another Parks Master Plan. We need to research and see what our capital needs are, our financial needs, our contractuals, and whatever our citizens are wanting. And a committee was formed after this was put out to bid. 8 vendors applied, and our committee selected one, and that's CHM Government Services. I have Jeff Bakey with CHM Government Services here tonight. I know there were a lot of questions and at our last discussion, and hopefully he can get a lot of them answered tonight. And I'll let him go, and he's got several slides, so I'll get that started for you.
Thank you, John. Good evening. Jeff Bakey, Managing Director of CHM Government Services. We are the prime contractor that bid on this RFP. And we did have the opportunity to listen to the video feed and some of the questions and concerns when this was the subject matter of a previous commission meeting. So I put together a little PowerPoint here that I hope will outline, justify, and answer a lot of the questions that the commissioners had relative to many different topics. So without further ado, let me dive right in. This is your team. I will be your primary point of contact. I've been doing this for over 40 years in both the public and the private sector. My experience and training is grounded in the private sector and saw a business opportunity to take best business practices from the private sector and deliver them to the public sector. I will be supported by Alex Lipton, a manager in our office, and we have 3 sub-consultants to our team, RDG, Planning and Design out of Des Moines, Pros Consulting out of Dallas and Washington, D.C., and ETC, which is here local, just south of Kansas City. Each team will contribute in different ways to the process. We obviously will lead. We'll be responsible for all quality control, quality assurance. We'll also be responsible for looking at things from a business perspective. And you'll hear a little bit in this presentation why I think that's different in the master planning and strategic planning process. We're not landscape architects. We're not designers. We're business people. We'll be looking at things along the lines of your operational structure, your revenue generation, your cost containment, your cost recovery, and strategically working with a team to bridge gaps where we need to bridge gaps based on a common vision, goals, and objectives. RDG will be responsible for the built environment, doing an assessment of your inventory of facilities, and they will also complement our community engagement and outreach. Pros Consulting, a great deal of experience in managing, hands-on management of parks. So they know how parks need to be structured. They'll be looking a lot at the programming, how the programming is structured to complement the market that it serves, how we might modify, make more relevant the programming, and enhance the cost recovery for programs that are delivered. And ETC has been retained to do a statistically valid sample, and we've worked with ETC on a number of different assignments. So that's your team. That's the company expertise and focus. And this is the general approach. And as I said in my original presentation, this is very common. But I think what we bring to the approach is a real business focus, a laser business focus on looking at things differently. But we're going to go through this process as well because I think it's a proven process. We've done it before with our teammates. We're going to assess where we are today, what the opportunities are, what the challenges are, and what the constraints are, especially in light of some of our governance and parameters within the county system. We're also going to look at where we want to be tomorrow. We're going to do our community engagement. We're going to listen to our constituents. We're going to do this across the county. We're not going to be biased to any particular area of the county. This is going to be an equitable community outreach program that we develop and implement. We're going to look at the demographic and the recreational trends. John had mentioned the previous plan's 23 years old. A lot has changed in 23 years. A lot has changed since COVID, which has been, a bellwether event that has really influenced how we take advantage of outdoor recreation. We're going to look at operations and staffing and revenue enhancement opportunities. And then how do we get there? How do we get there from an organizational structure perspective? How do we get there from a capital improvement perspective? How do we get there from a financing perspective and a funding perspective? As I mentioned, it's a four-person team or four-company team. We've worked together in various combinations over the course of the last 20 years. We know one another. We work well together. There's no duplication of efforts. And we tried to illustrate that through this slide. We know who needs to take the lead based on the requirements of the scope of work that you put together. We follow that scope of work. We've aligned lead and support functions relative to each individual requirement within the scope. So there's not going to be any duplication. There's not going to be any excessive inefficiencies. We've done this before, and this is the way we've structured the team's efforts. One of the issues that we heard in the video feed that the commission was concerned about was their level of engagement within the process. This is the timeline that we had put together. Obviously, it needs to be updated because of the elapsed time since our presentation. But I can assure you that the commission will be involved. We have 12 mandatory meetings that you are all invited to participate in. We will have recurring project management meetings that you can also participate in. So we expect the commission to be an active participant along with parks and other stakeholders. So let me allay the fear right now that you will be an integral part of this planning process. I want to go through again with that kind of summary overview of what everybody's going to be doing and show you some of the tools that we're going to use to get the job done. RDG, as I mentioned, is going to be doing the facility assessment. These are some of the tools that they've used in the past with great success. Placer AI, really provides us with a lot of real-time demographic data, spend data, visitation that helps us round out what the economic opportunities might be. Esri provides us with a lot of socioeconomic information, trend data, helps us identify strategic directions that we might want to take the park system. And then Glide is a proprietary artificial intelligence platform that RDG has developed over time that helps develop smart, objective solutions about how we get to where we want to be. So these are some of the tools that will be used by RDG in their facility assessment, supporting the broader team. These are some examples. We chose Little Platte Park, which they did a master plan for. This relates to visitation trends by month. These are the types of things that we're going to be able to extract out of Clay County. This is a zip code analysis that shows sources of demand by zip code over the course of a particular year. These are just examples of some of the outputs that we're going to look to get from RDG to help hone our analysis. I also mentioned that they'll be involved in community engagement. There are several tools that will be used in community engagement. We'll have a web presence. We're going to be out in the field. We're going to be out in the parks, coordinating community outreach with our constituent groups. We're also going to have sessions, work sessions, and a host of other things that we will develop as a team. We're not going to dictate. We have ideas, but we will develop with parks, with the commission, and with other stakeholders to really understand what our constituents want. And I will tell you, it has changed a lot. Outdoor recreation has become incredibly important to the residents of every community. How we match and meet their expectations is really what we strive to do. And then there's us. We really take a targeted business approach in looking at a park and recreation program and system, and we take a look at the business elements of how things are managed across 4 spectrums. We look at it operationally, staffing structures, the efficiency of our staffing models, the programming that we're delivering, is it efficient, the market relevance of our facilities and our programming, and we benchmark our pricing. Are we meeting market? Are we below market? Or do we have an opportunity to be a premium to market? We also look at the governmental side of things, the governance side. Do you have interagency agreements? What kind of regulations are in place? Policies? How do we work within those? How do we play in the gray sometimes to get things done? Oftentimes that's what it takes. And how do we identify and resource non-federal funding to get accomplished what we want to accomplish? And then we look at things on the financial side. Are we optimizing our income, our revenue? Are we priced accordingly? Are the programs meeting the market expectations? Are our facilities in the condition they need to be to meet our market expectations? Are we segmented? Do we have the classification of assets? We find in many cases campgrounds exclusively are primitive in nature. There's a great opportunity to segment that offering today. Camper cabins, glamping, RV sites. There's a lot of different product out there that has evolved over the last 5 years. So we're going to look at that. And then the asset management side. Do we have enough? Are we right-sized appropriately? Do we need to add to the system? Again, I mentioned the segmentation of offerings, identifying capital-intensive obligations and prioritizing those obligations and working with the parks as well as the commission to do that. And then planning appropriate capital reserves. Our facilities are only going to maintain themselves to the degree to which we're setting aside a reserve for replacement or recapitalization. And as part of our financial analysis, we want to make sure that there is money set aside and accruing over the course of a particular period so that when things need to get replaced, the money's available. This is an example of a cost recovery analysis we typically do for most of our clients. We'll take a look at revenue trends over a 5, 8, 10-year period. We'll take a look at expenses. We'll look at these expenses individually and look at the trends associated with these expenses, what's been growing and what's been growing in excess of inflation and what's been growing at or below inflation. And we'll arrive at what is your cost recovery? And then we'll have meaningful discussions about, is that the right cost recovery to reach our constituents in the way in which we need to reach our constituents? Maybe it's not. Maybe we need to increase that threshold. Okay, so let's talk about strategies by which we will increase that cost recovery threshold. So this is just an example of an output that we're going to put together across the system. We're also going to be looking at programming with our partner PROS Consulting. PROS has done a lot of programming, real in-park programming as they've managed parks, but we'll look at programming across a lot of different elements. We'll look at the age segmentation of the programming, the life cycle of the programming, and how it's evolved over time, classifications of programming. What's the cost recovery on the individual programs? Pricing strategies to maybe bridge additional cost recovery thresholds. How are we marketing our programs? Are we marketing our programs? How are we leveraging volunteerism, partnership practices? And so we'll look at all of our programs, create a matrix similar to this, and then hopefully make some decisions relative to how we improve our programming and or change it. This is another way we look at programming. We literally take the program apart. What's the timing to develop the curriculum? What is the staff requirements? What are the returns of that programming to our constituents? What is the impact to our facilities, the wear and tear or not? And what are the materials? And the sum cost of all these should tell us something about how we can price it, is it market relevant, and how often should we be providing it? So we'll take a look at programming on a different level as well. We'll look at alternative business models. Our firm has been writing concession contracts for the National Park Service for 25 years. We've done hundreds of them. We've done hundreds of leases. Maybe this is a business model we need to take a look at relative to some of your assets. We'll look at the benefits and the cons, We'll look at the market of potential concessioners and/or lessees relative to the services that we might consider outsourcing. And we'll do a thorough underwriting of those services. And then we'll develop a go-to-market strategy. I heard in the video feed before that there's been some mixed success with some of the concession operations within Clay County Parks. History has told me that that mixed success is also often the result of one of two things. The opportunity was either misunderwritten, so the projections and the business elements of the concession contract were not appropriately evaluated, or no one managed the contract. Just because you award a concession contract doesn't mean it's going to be a success. You have to be an active owner and manager of that contract. So we'll look at these strategies for the county and see if they've made sense. We've done this in states, we've done this for the feds, we've done this for cities, we've done it for pretty much every public land management entity in the country. We also heard in the video feed that there was concern about pricing. And so I wanted to put this slide together. I pulled all of our partners together and we took a look at 12 relevant projects that we collectively or individually have been involved in. We looked at those projects across a number of different criteria, population being one, complexity of system being a second, breadth of asset class and portfolio being a third. And we began to correlate some trends. Clearly, the fees for master planning and strategic planning are lower for smaller, less complex counties, cities, or states. And what we found is in those smaller communities, the range for the pricing for master and strategic planning is in the $50,000 to $100,000 range. As we get into the mid-sized city and county environment, it jumps to about $100,000 to $200,000. Large county regional systems, $200,000 to $400,000. And complex multi-county full strategic plans, oftentimes at the state level, can reach up to $600,000. We didn't position our fees to the top of the range. We actually put together a budget that exceeded yours. And we value engineered it down because we thought it was important to represent Clay County as a team. So what goes into pricing? Well, obviously the size of the system, and here we're about 253,000. You have a complex asset base, golf courses, marinas, trail systems, historic assets, over 6,000 acres. Last master plan was completed back in 2003, so there's not a lot to go on. We're really having to recreate. We have a high cost to structure public stakeholder engagement meetings. We have a lot of data that we need to collect, statistically valid survey that needs to be completed, a desire for DEI and sustainability, the quality and depth of deliverables, full color reports, GIS mapping, visualizations, and a need for on-site presence. I flew in from Boston today. We're not afraid to do that. We do it all the time. But it does take money and it does take time. And so I just wanted to outline for you that we did methodically go through our pricing.
Commissioner Lawson, you didn't want to jump in right now? Okay, because your light is on. That's okay. Please continue, I'm sorry.
Okay. And so at the bottom of the slide is really the estimate that we came up with after value engineering for this particular RFP and the requirements that were outlined in this RFP. So I just wanted to provide some context there because I heard in the previous meeting that there was some significant concern with whether we jerry-rigged the pricing to come in right under the budget or not, but actually we were way over your budget and had to come down. Other elements that we take into consideration relative to pricing is the level of effort of the scope of work, and your scope of work was relatively detailed and complex relative to what we see across the market. We build our budgets with personnel and fully burdened labor rates. So our labor rates do not equate to the salaries we make. It equates to a lot of other different cost factors that the firm has to carry. And so that's how we build up our labor rates. We use a leverage model, and a leverage model in the consulting business is I'm going to be the project manager here, but I have a whole team that's going to work underneath me at different positions and different labor rates. And I can leverage and make sure that the appropriate staff is doing what's required to provide the greatest price value to our clients. So I'm not taking a large share of this fee. My team is taking the lion's share of this fee. And so we feel that we can optimize the team and deliver the greatest value to our clients through that leverage model. And like I say, we have to go back. This is an iterative process. I mean, this is not unusual for us to come in over a budget and then have to go back and re-engineer it and think through differently how we're going to do this, recognizing we've got to work within the parameters of the requirements of the RFP. And, we value this project. We want to do this work. We have made some significant investments in research and understanding the county, its asset base, its goals, its objectives, what makes it unique. We've put in probably 40 hours of professional time in writing our response. We've been here twice. We flew out here and interviewed the whole team to the evaluation committee, and I'm back, and I'm happy to be back. And we're going to have additional meetings. I know we're going to have additional meetings, but I just want to demonstrate to the commission that we feel this is an important enough project for us to make investments in making sure you're comfortable with it, our response to the scope and our ability to execute. That's my spiel.
Commissioner Lawson?
Okay. Before we start questioning and all of that, I want all of you to keep in your mind, especially all of you sitting up here, that we're not talking about our money, we're talking about taxpayers' money, the people that work hard for their money. And while I feel that the park is such a valuable asset, I really do. I'm there a lot. There's nothing up there that isn't an enjoyment, whether it's walking a trail, riding a trail, out on the boat, fishing, whatever it might be. It's an asset to our county and our citizens, and citizens from other areas love to come up and participate. Were this to be approved by the commission, I can promise you I would be extremely involved in every single meeting that's held. I have concerns. Once that you have completed this, I want to know from our staff or whomever, how is this going to be implemented? Who's going to be in charge to make sure that this plan is implemented? Because the last time, as we discussed, the large percentage of it was never even touched. It was never addressed. And so if this is a massive investment as far as I'm concerned. And I want to make sure that, number one, we're going to do something about it if it is approved. And the financial reports are another thing. So as we progress through year 25, 26, 27, who will be responsible for getting those financial reports back to us as you had in your study? I think that's invaluable. You've got to see, did we get a bang for our buck or not? So that's something. And when I look at $250,000 to $350,000, it hardly can come out of my mouth. That's a lot of money, and I want to make dead certain sure that we're getting what we're paying for, and we are going to do something about it all. It's not going to be a report that gets stuck on a shelf and nobody ever looks at it. So these are all my questions. Answer away, whomever.
I can tell you one of the things, Commissioner Lawson, is that ultimately a plan like this allows you to get measurables.
Well,
Right.
I'm sorry?
Measurables. You want to have goals that you can create, measurables, items that will come from this. Part of that is working with our consultants so that when we come away from this, we have something that we can measure our progress with. It's one thing to be able to create a plan, it's another to be something you can measure to that plan.
Yeah.
And a couple of things I saw that in his report that I like, I think it was your third slide when you talked about our next steps. Our next steps will be, because how do we measure this? How do we utilize staff to be able to implement this? Give us opportunity to put a goal towards those different items, which also have to decide what we want to do money-wise regarding that, because regardless of putting a plan, the other part is how do we put the finances behind that? And so you ask who's going to be over this. Myself, we work with John and his staff in order to try to implement this.
Okay.
So now the other portion is how do we get this from the input from not only you all, but also from the citizens of what do they want to see? How does this plan go to where we are in 2026 and going beyond that? So that's one of the biggest portions is what do they want to see typically as a new citizen this year or these years to allow us to be able to do the work we need to do. Because this won't be a overnight situation.
Right.
I mean, it's going to take, what is the implementation, probably 6 to 8 months?
Probably more than that.
More than that in order to, so it may take some time before we get all the information back.
Sure.
So, but we'll keep you give you progress reports regarding that as we go through the process. That's part of those meetings as well, is updating you all on where we are in the process as we go forward with it. So
Great.
I hope that helps answer some of those questions for you.
Yeah, and then how is this going to be implemented? It's all done, they hand you the paperwork, now what happens?
He's given us a plan, and we start going through those steps. The strategic plan is the part that sets the dates and timelines of what we need to start doing. And whatever what's priority, it's where we start. So if we have to rearrange budgets, if we have to, whatever we got to do, that's where we start, and I give you the progress reports of where we're going. Because remember, we're asking for this. I mean, we want to be good custodians of taxpayers' money. But we don't want to continue for years and years of building or not doing something that taxpayers don't want. So we need the answers, and this is where we start. So.
Okay. Let's see.
If I could just add one more thing, and with regard to, the ability for this plan to be actionable, measurable, and implementable, I see all too frequently that planning efforts throw a lot of stuff in the plan without managing the content. It's not volume over quality. And so what we need to do is we really need to work with all the stakeholders and identify the elements of the plan that we can quantify and implement in a realistic way. Not trying to do everything in the world, but trying to do things in a systematic, programmable way that makes a difference.
Yep. Yeah. And the other side of the coin, John, to you, once that we put out this kind of money, how does that impact the park's budget, and will there be things that maybe don't get as much attention as they should because we could be a little short on the budget,
We'll have to go through and see what the priorities state and go from there. If some things, unfortunately, some projects may end. I mean, if our citizens come back and tell us they don't want this and we're sinking money into
Good
it,
point.
it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And we're moving on to what they do want. But we can't do that till we get this plan done
Yeah.
and look at the facts.
Well, I'll just say one more thing and then I'll shut up.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you're all happy to hear that. But in my opinion, just my opinion, a lot of these things that I see that we're going to be looking at, and I'm being frank about this, not putting anybody on the spot, but just how I feel. These are things, and a lot of it, that we should have been aware of all along. We knew we needed a restaurant up there. Okay, we got a restaurant. I've heard good things. Golf course. We got great golf courses up there. And if our people come in and say to somebody behind the desk, well, I'll tell you what, hole 5 is awful, it's overgrown, blah, 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 then that needs to be addressed immediately. We all know that we need more slips. That's been brought to our attention by citizens. That's something that we already know about. I think the study can bring forth some good things, but I feel personally, these are things we should have been aware of from get-go, and we should have been working towards getting them fixed. So, these kinds of studies are great. They bring forth a lot of good information at a massive, massive cost. So, that's just my opinion, and I think we should have been on top of a lot of this all along and been doing some of these improvements all along. And for us to have to put this kind of money out for somebody else to tell us what we haven't been doing is a little disconcerting. So just my opinion.
Okay, I don't want you to think this plan is based on going back and fix everything that's broken. This is looking what trends are now happening, improvements we can make to the park system. Can we upgrade camping to glamping and cabins, or pickleball courts, more trails, more playgrounds? It doesn't just focus on what's broken. It's focusing on what our citizens are desiring. Trends changed in the past 20 years. And, these plans are usually about 10 years. So now we have a 10-year gap because we didn't do one 10 years ago like we should have. So there's a big gap in between there. So that's the only way we can improve it and make sure we're still doing what we need to do, and how financially we're going to be stable and be able to maintain our systems for years to come. So I just don't think that it's everything broken. Because yes, if we have something that's broke, we get on it, or if it's too expensive, we have to plan out and do it. But we also need to look, as maybe that's one of them that project isn't one that's feasible anymore, and that's not what our citizens want. So that's where this plan comes in.
Before I go to Commissioner Wagner, I noticed Dave Mecklenburg, the chairman of our Parks Board, came up. So if you have anything you'd like to address on issues that Commissioner Lawson raised, then we'll go to Commissioner Wagner.
The persons currently on your Parks Advisory Board come with a wealth of experience. I started 25 years ago with the Northland Regional Chamber working on a Northland Trails Plan, a Clay County Trails Plan. From that point on, I went on to the Parks Board of the City of Kansas City, Missouri for 12 years, working on assets and public input and what the public wants. And that was always my goal as a Parks Commissioner, to make a decision based on what was first, best for the citizens, the taxpayers, whose money this is. We have members on our board now that are interested in Kansas City Trap Shooters Association, which is an excellent facility we have. We have people that are interested specifically in golf. We have a city administrator that knows the governmental issues. We have a person now who has been a parks director and a parks person for years. So I think we have the ability to oversee, to make the recommendations within the confines of our ability to make recommendations, to see that we are good stewards of the county's funds, and that the things we try to do are things that we have had experience in, and we understand public input, and we'll generally go for that over the next few years. I think this would be a great guideline, this kind of funding. I looked at the parks plan we had when I first got on the advisory board, and there was really nothing in there that we could act on. This is why we need to have this and update it so we can make the appropriate recommendations to the Parks Department, to the county administrator, and then therefore to the commission to improve the quality of life, the quality of our assets for the citizens of Clay County. Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner, thank you for your patience. You are recognized.
Thank you. Just a couple comments and then maybe a question. First, I would note that not only are we talking about taxpayer dollars, but we're talking about taxpayer assets. How do you steward those assets, I think, is an important aspect of this conversation. And we have some major assets, whether it's the lake and many other things. I would note, just speaking about the lake for a moment, that we have a current agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers that I believe goes through most of the rest of this decade. And it seems to me that when we go back to have a conversation with them again about a new lease, having some idea of what we would like to see in the next iteration of that agreement and the assets that we want there is an important aspect. And I'll have another question, but Jeff, one of the comments that I'd like you to speak to is just the experience of the team working with the Corps, because I think understanding that can be helpful in whatever you create that can then be used in a conversation with them whenever that occurs. The other thing that strikes me is, maybe to John's point, I think since the last plan, this county has grown by 75 to 100,000 people. And this body, I think, has made its decisions based on whenever a couple or three people come in with a complaint. We did that with the marina, and right, wrong, or otherwise, I'm not speaking to that. But what does strike me is when we're only reacting when someone's got a problem, that is not planning. That is simply trying to deal with someone's issue and trying to make it better. So to me, there is great value in getting into the public and asking those extra 75 to 100,000 people who weren't here last time, what would you like to see? And I mean, for what it is, it takes money to reach those people and to come with a plan with that. So comment phase over. Here's the other question, Jeff. I too served on the board of Parks and Recreation for the city of Kansas City. I did not have the tenure that my former colleague Dave Mecklenburg had, so I do not think that anyone's going to name squat after me at any point in the future. But what I do know is, through that experience, is that there are a number of things that they're doing. There's a number of things that Smithville's doing. And so I go back to that slide that you had on the program assessment. And I'm very curious to understand how your team will interact with all those various jurisdictions and their assets, because it suggests to me, and maybe to John's earlier point, that there may be some things that we should be doing and maybe some things we shouldn't be doing because there are other jurisdictions that are either doing them or perhaps doing them well or better than we can. And so if you might answer those couple of questions. There's one other thing I was going to say, but I'm going to pause so you can answer those couple questions.
It's a good question. So the first step is really understanding the programming that's currently in place and how we're delivering that programming. Oftentimes we find that some of that programming is not relevant anymore, but yet we're still trying to deliver it and market it to a constituent group that has no interest. Mm-hmm. We'll make recommendations about terminating and or restructuring those programs, mm-hmm. and looking across the county to see who's doing it well.
Yeah.
Is there a best in class out there that we can mimic as opposed to trying to recreate the wheel, mm-hmm. or delegate to because they've already got proven track record, proven success. Mm-hmm. The other kind of related, I want to just jump back to your question about the Army Corps.
Yeah.
This gets to the intergovernment agreements that I mentioned as part of looking at things through a business lens. We had a very similar circumstance with the Army Corps up in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Rathbun Lake, it's an Army Corps. We asset managed a resort, Honey Creek Resort, on Rathbun Lake, and we looked at that intergovernmental agreement, and we were able to negotiate with the Army Corps additional capital projects that were mutually beneficial, mm-hmm. to not only the lake, but to the recreational experience as well as the park. Mm-hmm. Some of those projects were riprap, mm-hmm. that reinforced the bounds of the lake, but also allowed us a solid foundation, mm-hmm. to do a marina.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that we'll investigate as part of this project to make sure that we're taking full advantage where we can of resources and partnerships to do what might be mutually beneficial for everybody.
Gotcha. Thank you. The final comment I want to make is kind of getting back to that implementation piece, and John was speaking to it. And I think this also gets into, Jeff, what you were talking about as far as the financial plan moving forward, because it strikes me, we talked a little bit about this the last time, that once you know what everybody wants, then they want to know, well, are you actually going to do it? And that's where you get to the planning piece and the financial piece of it. I just want to throw out there to the ether again that in Clay County, we have 2 funding sources that have availability, both on the property tax side and on the sales tax side. I think our property tax levy is currently at 0, if I remember correctly, that would go to parks, and then we've got about ½ cent, I think, available to us on park sales tax. I say that because there, in my opinion, is only, I'll say it this way, it is easier, based on what you come back with, to say your fees at the golf course or the marina don't work. It should be more like this, and that's an easy change. On the other hand, using the example, Jeff, that you just gave, if I have to go riprap Smithville Lake in order to facilitate some sort of development that the Corps will allow us to do, I may not have the operational funds to trade in order to do that, and in which case then it really comes on this body to say these sorts of capital expenditures, which I think are the best uses of those sorts of sources of funding, are going to be necessary if you want to produce whatever that is that people say they seem to want. So I do put some onus on our department to execute, but I also don't put us off the hook, because if there are serious investments that have to be made, we're either going to make them or we're going to let them go, and then everyone's going to say, well, you know, this is going on the shelf again. So I just want to be sure to put that out there again, that it's staff, but it's also us getting behind that. And if you care to comment, that's fine, but that's all I had for you.
No, I'd like to just make a comment with regard to that. I do think it's important that we're reaching out to that additional 100,000 residents of Clay County that probably were not part of that original plan. Yeah. I think it's going to be very insightful. Mm-hmm. And we're going to hear a lot from them. Mm-hmm. They're going to want different things, maybe a lot of different things. But I think what you're going to find through this process and with this business focus is we're going to be evaluating the investment in those particular programs or facilities vis-a-vis the return on those investments. Yeah. And we may say, yeah, they want a new marina.
Wouldn't do it. Yeah.
We can't do it. We can't do it now. Maybe we push it out to year 10, 20, whatever the case might be. But the reality is some of our best advice is don't do it. Save yourself the money, the capital dollars, and the operational shortfall that's only going to increase or decrease your cost recovery. And these are the tough, this is where rubber meets the road, right? These are the tough discussions we're going to end up having. Yeah, everybody wants, they want 50 pickleball courts. Well, you know, at 10 grand a pickleball court, and we're getting, you know, $8 a head, you will run a loss. So you're going to be able to make informed financial decisions about those capital investments.
Well, and I think your asset comment earlier speaks to that, because we just use that example. Sure, we could go to pickleball courts in Smithville Lake or whatever, but the asset map says, I got pickleball courts all over the place. And so why would I do that, right? So if that's the sort of thing that can be produced, I think that's great information for us. And thank you for being here and making the trip. And I'm done. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the presentation today, and to John as well. On that last point, real quick, before I forget, on the finance side of things, what I'd love to see too is not just the finance side of where we would spend more money, but potential areas of where we can save money, and that's to Commissioner Lawson's point as well. You know, not everything has to be scaled up. Sometimes the right move might be to scale something the other direction and save money and redirect it. So I'd love to see that as part of this. So I'm certainly strongly leaning towards supporting, although I see we've got other people wanting to chime in. I always keep an open mind, so I'll wait till the end to decide. But The reason is, there are a couple of reasons. Number one is I think the park system in general is important. I think there's a case to be made that it's never been more important in the lives of people. And so doing it right, doing it well, providing people what they need, I think is more important than ever. And the reason for that is, as the world keeps changing, and as I noted in the presentation, you had a couple different AI programs as part of this. As the world keeps changing and keeps becoming a more digital existence, obviously that has happened slowly over time. It has come with downsides, a lot of upsides, but it's come with downsides both in terms of people's physical health, and I would make the case strongly in terms of people's mental, psychological health. And so I think government staying on the ball and doing what it can to provide real world, outside, physical opportunities for its residents is more important than it's ever been before, and I'd like to see us be at the leading edge of that rather than behind the curve, because I think it's important for our people. Reason number two is and this is to Dave's point, and I made this point a few weeks ago when we first did this, which is that I trust the selection committee came to the right decision on this. We did task the selection committee with analyzing the bids. We asked them to do it, they did it, and I trust the people, Commissioner Wagner's point, Dave's got decades of experience. Last time, I don't see her this time, but my former employer at Gladstone Parks and Rec, Sheila Lillis, I know to be both excellently informed and also a person who is a no-nonsense person who wants to get stuff done and isn't going to let, and she's a resident of the county too, she's not going to let the taxpayer money be wasted. And I know we had several other people from the advisory committee. I think Director Jones was on it. We had a number of people on it who had eyeballs on this thing, and I do trust that they came to at least picked the right one of the ones who submitted proposals. So I think it's an important thing to do in general, and I trust that we have come to the at least best option in terms of who put in bids on this thing. And so I'm ready to move forward, look forward to hopefully a lot of productive results out of it. And like I said, let's keep our eye on cost savings too, in addition to where we can spend more. And I think if we do all those things, we might get a good result out of this thing. So, thanks.
Could I just jump in, Commissioner Carpenter, because you
Please,
brought up
yeah.
a great point that I just want to make sure I drive home, and that is that we will be looking at the inventory of fixed assets as well as programs. And what we have found in the past is park systems are great collectors of stuff. And oftentimes that collection of stuff is very labor intensive. And so we will be looking at ways in which we can make operations more efficient. Some of those conclusions might be to discard or figure out how best to offset an asset or a program to make the system more efficient. But we have done that in the past, where we say this asset makes no sense, let's shut this campground down. And it's a tough decision, but it saved a lot of money and brought that cost recovery up. So we will be looking at that. But again, with the approval of the commission and all the other stakeholders.
Very glad to hear that. Good deal. Thanks.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got questions for all of you, actually. I'm going to start with our county administrator. I'll put you on the spot here because I value your opinion, and I think it's important that we understand we've hired you to run the county. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really curious as to your opinion. I know we've already set aside $250,000 for this in the budget, sure. But I guess a couple questions I have for you. First and foremost, is that money still there for this? And then more importantly, what's your opinion on this? Is this a good decision, do you think, to spend the money on this?
First of all, the money's still there. And secondly, I think it's a good thing to move forward with.
Okay.
For me, as a new person coming in, to be able to give me something that I can start with a plan, to be able to give a measurable situation going forward, not only vet what we got, but also vet where we can go forward. It puts me in a good position. But also gives John and his staff opportunity to start at a place where we can all talk on something on an even playing field. When I say that, meaning that they vet, talk to the citizens, come up with an actual measurable plan, we can look at it, figure out how to fund it and what things to go forward. Right now, we're pretty much, I'll take what they gotten, use the asset where we can, but there's things we can do. I mean, honestly, there's some changes probably can be made. But to try to satisfy what we have currently in the public, I think it'd be good to have a plan to move forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, sir, I want to thank you for being here tonight and flying in from Texas, right?
Boston, Mass.
Pardon me?
Boston, Mass.
Oh, I thought you said Texas, okay. I was going to ask if you got that gerrymandering thing figured out there in Texas, but not your problem. The financial analysis piece, I know that Commissioner Carpenter talked about it. I just know that that's very important to me as well. I think that's, I saw it in your presentation. I really like that. And Commissioner Withington's not here, but he talks about it quite a bit. You know, he'll specifically say the golf course, you know, we're making money, we're losing money, where we're at. So I think it's very important that that's looked at very closely. And I'd be real curious to see what those numbers look like. So I want to make it clear that we're basically being asked to approve $250,000, not to make any changes to our park system, but to get an opinion, essentially, of to what changes we should make to our system. And I'm wondering if you can explain, just under 2 minutes, to our viewers, and we have probably close to 200,000 viewers that watch this streaming every night. I'm kidding, we probably got about 3. Got about to the 3 viewers that are watching this right now.
I watched it.
But some people do come back and look at it later. But if you could just explain in a nutshell, and Commissioner Lawson, I thought was fairly articulate. And hey, this is taxpayers' money. This is $250,000 that we're being asked to give you. What are the tax? And by the way, I understand. I think we understand the answer to this. I'm asking if you give an answer in layman's terms to mom and dad sitting at home just wondering, hey, what's this going to get us? Could you explain what we get for $250,000? What an idea of what you'll come back with? Will you tell us, hey, you know what? You guys maybe need more parks. You guys need more pickleball courts, or you guys don't need this. Just in layman's terms, real briefly, what are you going to come back to us with?
Well, I don't know specifically what I'm going to come back to you with because I haven't been engaged yet. However, the process will be looking at your profit and loss statement in a very detailed way, starting with revenues. What comprises your revenue stream? What programs, what facilities, what fees comprises your revenue stream? And are we optimizing that revenue stream? Are the asset bases that are contributing to the revenue, whether it's marinas or golf or campgrounds, entrance fees, whatever those numbers are they priced to market? So we'll do a benchmarking of comparable county park systems, and we'll make recommendations about changing that pricing. Could be down, could be up.
Okay.
We're also going to look at the asset base that contributes to that revenue and make sure that that is optimized from that segmentation classification perspective, making sure that the slips at the marinas are right-sized appropriately. Bigger boats are all the rage right now.
Right.
Smaller boats are, so how do we take a small boat slip and make it more market relevant and charge a commensurate price per linear foot? Are our golf courses segmented appropriately? Maybe we need a par 3. I don't know. Maybe we don't need an 18-hole golf course. Gets back to the divestiture discussion. Maybe we need to look at our campground portfolio and introduce other more market-relevant concepts that would allow us to drive revenue and optimize revenue. So we're going to look at the revenue that way.
Right.
We're going to look at the expenses the same way.
Yeah.
We're going to look at payroll. We're going to look at marketing. We're going to look at every single line item that comprises the costs to run the park system. And we're going to identify, are we overstaffed, understaffed? Are we compensated appropriately? Do our job descriptions match what we're asking our people to do? Do the job descriptions allow us to go to market to hire the people to do the job we're asking them to do? We're going to look at insurance, the cost of insurance. We're going to look at all of these costs. And that's how we're going to get to understanding not only what your cost recovery is today, but what it could be in the future with just these basic changes. Not necessarily adding a bunch of capital, although it could be the case, but how do we restructure the operation to optimize the revenue, best contain costs, and drive a higher cost recovery?
Yeah, so I like that. You talk a lot about taxpayer dollars and being good stewards over that. Could you also come back with, hey, you know what, according to the community surveys, they would like to see, more parks or more golf courses or less or whatever. Would be that kind of stuff as
Oh,
well?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then, so with that in mind, and this question is actually for John. I know we had a strategic plan done, long before my time. I don't know if it was probably before your time too, I can't remember. But do you know, and you may not know, but do you happen to know what impacts did that last strategic plan have on any decisions or changes that we made in the county regarding the parks?
And from the last plan, one of the major goals was purchasing the Ferris Farm.
I'm sorry, say again?
Purchasing the Ferris Farm historic site.
Okay.
We did that, and then we had to rebuild all of it.
That was a recommendation from the last strategic plan? Okay.
And then expanding our trail system, and currently we got 35 miles of multi-purpose and equestrian trails and all that. And really, after reading it, that's all I can get out of it.
Okay.
It's a lot of statistics, I don't know, it's a different plan, it was a different time, so
Yeah.
that's all the data I got
Yeah.
out of it.
And so you'll be the one that's basically going to be in charge of this strategic plan when it comes back to us and implementation and bringing ideas and the concepts to us for approval for budget, because it's all about money, It's going to cost money if we're going to, well, it's not all about, but in many cases, it could be money.
Yes.
Would have to come back to us to figure that out. But I guess, and maybe this is more direction than anything else, is that, we don't want another strategic plan that's just going to go sit on a shelf somewhere in a file cabinet somewhere, which we've all heard so many of them happen before.
And that's not my goal. I'm the guy here asking for this.
Right.
I need a plan.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility, it'd be Damon's responsibility,
Right.
your all's. If I ain't doing my job, then you need to tell Damon I need to go
Yeah.
because I'm not following the plan. We've paid good money to do.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Now, the
we're gonna
problem, just
make a
know the
plan
problem
and
with
we
us,
act.
most of us are short timers. We're here for a few years and we're gone. Sometimes we get reelected, sometimes we don't, but we're gone. You guys are the ones that are here, career-wise, a lot longer. So I'll be gone probably while this thing's implemented, but you guys won't be. So I just want to make sure that it gets followed through with.
And that's my goal, is stick with our plan.
Yeah.
With this is what our citizens want, and this is where we're
Okay.
going. I may not like some of it, but I follow orders, and that's what I got to do.
And then two more things, actually, this would be to you, sir. One is when you go out to the community and you ask for their input, that kind of stuff, do you also somehow let them know, hey, you know what? There's a cost associated with these things. So the community, it's not just, hey, community, we're going to give you everything you want. It's like, hey, if you want, 10 more pickleball courts somewhere, well, this is what's going to cost in taxpayer money. Did you somehow get that across to them? This is just not a Christmas list of everything.
Yeah, that's a question that does come up. Obviously, that message is not going to come through in the execution of the statistically valid survey, because it's literally a survey that the residents are going to fill out. So there's not a lot of verbal exchange there. There could be some narrative put in the survey that could explain something along those lines. But where we find the best traction is out in the field, when we're doing our community engagement, out in the parks, at special events, where everybody is informed on how to send the message. You've probably been to several of these. There's all kinds of really unique and innovative ways that you can create and imagine soliciting feedback from residents. But the messages can also be delivered that, not everything that you want, you're going to get.
Right.
It's all got to be grounded in financial and investment analysis to ensure that the commission, the county, and we're doing right by the residents.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we don't want to build something that is going to be a money suck for the county at the residents' expense.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And my last question for you, and this is going to be an odd question. You probably never had this one asked before. Has to do with artificial intelligence. That's really, it's made its way into all sorts of businesses nowadays, as well as consulting firms and everybody else. Have you implemented that at all into your systems, or how will that play any role into this particular strategic plan?
Well, you clearly saw that it will on the real property side, the facility side. They're going to use AI in some of their surveying techniques and data extraction techniques. We use AI to a certain degree. We're testing it in some of the market research that we do. going through a host of data that it would take an analyst weeks to go through at the expense of our clients, and letting AI do that and summarize trends.
Yeah.
We've seen success with that, but I'm cautious about AI. I'm tiptoeing into AI. We don't use it in our financial analyses. We don't use it in our investment analyses. We crunch the numbers. We're not letting the machines crunch the numbers.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to make a couple of comments, and I will recognize Commissioner Lawson. I think one of the things that really resonates here that we hear from this board, and that is we're talking about taxpayer money, and at the same time we are talking about taxpayer assets. These are assets that don't maintain themselves, that they don't improve themselves. It's going to take a good bit of effort, especially on the part of John. Everything falls on your shoulders, I'm sorry. But the thing is, we are not called upon to bury our treasure in the ground. We are called upon to be good stewards. And that means making prudent investments, making investments into these assets that the public has entrusted us with. And one of the things that I like to hear when you guys are talking in these terms is the idea of market forces. While we're government, we're not a private business, we are still susceptible to, and I think we need to pay attention to, what market forces are. What is it that our citizens are currently demanding? We talked about how so many of our citizens were not here in the county when the previous plan was put into place. And that's absolutely true, but I would also contend that those of us who were here when those plans were originally adopted are different people as well. Our priority, we've grown as the times have grown, we've changed with the times, and I think that it's important for us to realize that nothing is stagnant, nothing stays the same. So it's not just the responding to the needs of our more recent residents, but also the long-term residents. And quite honestly, this plan is a long-term effort. We're looking at what it's going to look like a decade hence, or whatever number you care to put on it. So we need to be thinking in terms of what is it that we will be handing off to future generations. And that is our real responsibility, is to make sure that we have managed these assets well, and that when they are turned over to the next generation of residents and citizens, that they are certainly something that they will value and treasure, because it's going to look 10 years from now, the county is going to look very different. Our needs and what the market tells us is wanted is going to be very different than what it is today. So we have to be nimble, and we have to be thinking in terms of what is it that is the current demand that's being put on us by our citizens. And one of the things that I think is a lot different from the government today as opposed to in previous years is I think we've kind of grown up a bit more. I think no disrespect to our predecessors, because they did a great job in many cases, but we have been able to become a charter county, and that means that we have become, I believe, a more professional government. Certainly our administrator is emblematic of the professionalism. He and his immediate predecessor, of course, and other predecessors are emblematic of just exactly our efforts to become more professional and to be more responsive to our citizens. And part of that is going to be the outreach that we talked about. And a large part of that outreach, I think, is going to be renewing our efforts through our Parks Board and some of the other organizations that we have to make sure that we're able to be as responsive as possible. So I think this is something that is necessary for us to do. It's been mentioned that sometimes citizens will come forward with concerns, and we react to them. I think if we're going to operate as a professional organization, we need to have a framework, and we need to have the ability to anticipate to the degree humanly possible to how we can go forward and make sure that we are, in fact, being good stewards of our assets that we've been entrusted with. Commissioner Lawson, you are next.
Thank you. When I was in private industry, one of the things that we were really great at was we were out there finding out day to day what was important to our clients, what would they like to see us provide to them better than we were? What new products would they like to see us bringing to them? We had our finger on the pulse of our business. Not trying to be degrading in any way or anything. Why in the hell haven't we been doing that with everything we do? Why haven't we been doing that with our Parks Department? Finding out, just sending out maybe some kind of a survey saying, if you've been to Smithville lately, tell us what's good, tell us what's bad. When people are checking in they bring a boat back, or they're buying gas, or we ought to be asking, what do you want? What do you think is right? What do you think is wrong? I just, sticking in my throat, 350,000, maybe just 250,000, just 250,000. We just did a study with our people and what their job should be and what we should be paying them that we weren't now. We paid around 250, I think it was. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a bust. That was money down the toilet, frankly. But if we're going to do this, we are going to, it sounds like I've got a losing battle here anyway. I don't give a damn. But if this is what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to watch every damn thing that they say should be done. I'm going to see how it all got followed and hold everybody's feet to the fire on this. This is a lot of money. When I was highly successful with my previous job, I never made $350,000 and I worked my butt off. So you're just handing somebody $350,000 in the hopes that they're going to tell you what you're making a mistake about that you sure in the heck should have already known, my opinion alone. Obviously, I'm on the short side of this, but I think we're getting ready to go into budget right now. Maybe this money has been set aside, but with all of the changes that have been made in our salaries and everything else we've got going, I could see this used better. But if this is done properly, if we follow it to the letter of the law, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I sat down, John was nice enough to give me the old study. I went through that thing from cover to cover. Took me forever to do it. And you know what I got out of it? Not a damn thing. It was the worst written thing I've ever seen in my life. What did we pay for that, John? Do you know?
I don't know off the top
I
of my
thought
head.
it was before your time, I think, wasn't it?
22 years ago, yeah, it's way before me.
Yeah. So whatever we paid for it, whether it was $100,000 or whatever, that was money gone. We've lost that we could have fixed roads with. We could have given senior some kind of services and stuff. Instead, that's where it went. So for my money, the rest of you may vote yes, I'm voting no. But as this goes forward, I do want to be involved in the meetings. I do want to make sure what the surveys come back as, what people are looking for. And today, the pickleball is hot as can be, you know, and it's fun. But do you know how many people have gone up after we set up the Frisbee golf and actually used the Frisbee golf?
I do not, because
Okay.
it's not.
See,
there's
that's
not
something we should know, because
Right.
we took the time to do it. And we should be able to monitor that and say, we spent the time, we spent the money to set this up. Hot item right now. Liberty, they hold tournaments and all kinds of things. And so, you know, if we improve services out there, whatever those services may be, I want to know how many people are using those new services. How many people are using our our Frisbee golf right now. That would be a great thing to know. Maybe we need to improve the course. You know, maybe there's things that are wrong with it that people are finding that we could improve on and bring more people in. So I think whether it's parks, whether it's any other department, any other services we offer, we should have our finger on the pulse just a little bit better than we do, obviously. So I think if we've got the money now to do it, all right, fine. If we aren't sure about that, then maybe we should wait till the budget's done and then make it. But whichever way we go, I'm gonna be mindful of what's going on. So thank you very much, and thank you. Great. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I think it sounds like you're a highly professional group of people. Your presentation is beautiful. It points out things that are very needed. But in my opinion, they're things that we should have been doing all along. So, maybe this is the answer. I don't know. But at any rate, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Since it's been used a couple times since I spoke last, I want to make it clear, I am not a pickleball player. I don't play pickleball. If you suggest building more courts, you can. I'm probably not going to play on them either, but I just want to make it clear, I'm not advocating on the pickleball route, just in case anyone's asking. Thank you.
I was pretty sure that was in the plan to make sure that Commissioner Wagner was out there on the pickleball court at least once a week.
Just give me a jar of pickles.
I see. Commissioner Johnson.
Just to clarify, a couple different numbers went out there. The total cost for this will be $249,940. It was already put in our budget for this year, for last year's budget, the current year's budget, and it's in there now. So with that, I move to approve 2025-187.
Motion has been made for the approval of, 2025-187. Further discussion. I just want to make one last comment before we go to a vote, and that is the great thing about a plan is it provides focus. If we do not follow the plan, it's easy sometimes, unfortunately, for one urgent need to push out another urgent need. The plan gives us focus. I think we need to steel ourselves up a little bit. If we're going to follow this plan and say yes to some of the things on this, we're going to have to say no to some other things. So it is not a walk in the park, and I would urge commissioners to be mindful of that as we go forward. With that, are there any further thoughts before I go to Commissioner Johnson to close? I see none. Commissioner, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
No.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much for being here and for giving us as much information as you did. We look forward to working with you in the future. And by the way, thank you to the commission. That was a very thoughtful, that was a very deep dive discussion. I want to compliment my fellow commissioners for a good discussion item. It's always a pleasure to hear that kind of a constructive input. With that, we will now go to 2025-239. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-239, approval of invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office for the period of August 2nd through August 8th. We had a total of 18 invoices, total amount of $3,239.54.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-239.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2025-239. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
That brings us to the final item on our regular agenda this evening. That would be 2025-240. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-240, approval of a 2026 grant application through the Missouri Blue Shield Grant Program. We have the Sheriff Department here to give more information.
Please proceed, Captain.
Captain Amy Agdarian, Clay County Sheriff's Office. Good evening, Commissioners. This grant that I have asked you to approve tonight, if you will, is the result of the Missouri Blue Shield designation that you approved on May 15th. And so that was just kind of going for the designation, meeting the requirements through the state, and shortly thereafter, this grant became available. So because we had the designation already, we were eligible to apply for these funds. So this is a grant that is, it allows for $50,000 to the agencies that have the designation. I did apply, it looked, our numbers were a little bit higher, so I don't know if that will be cut or if it will be approved if our application is accepted. But we are looking at the purchase of about $58,000 worth of GTACs, so mobile data terminal computers, that will assist with in-field dispatching availability for our personnel. So these devices are not inexpensive, and so any little bit helps. And we are asking for your approval to submit the application for this grant.
Commissioner Johnson.
I think this is great use of funds, and I move to approve 2025-240.
Motion's been made for approval of 2025-240. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes our regular agenda. Next are discussion items. We have one discussion item, which is Go North KC website update for tourism. Mr. Administrator, if you'd like to introduce that.
I won't steal her thunder, so we have a Go North presentation from Megan with our tourism department.
Megan Saalfeld, Lake County Tourism and Marketing. I would love to give you a quick update, and we'll be doing this periodically as we hit more milestones and we approach the World Cup. So tonight I'm here to do just that. And I'm very excited because tonight's a big night. First of all, I'm going to start where I'm always going to start, with our countdown. This is the number that I look at almost daily. It's a nice round number. I'm not counting today. Technically we're at 301, but 300 seemed a lot more of a round number. So that is the number of days to go before the World Cup kicks off. So something that we always keep top of mind. And this is really what spurred the project that I'm about to talk to you about. We mentioned it a little bit in previous meetings about this Go North KC project, but it is really rolling and we're very excited, and we're going to be launching it here very soon. So I wanted to present it to you first. It is a collaborative project between Clay County and Platte County and all of our major municipalities. We have monthly meetings that have been going on for several months now. We've got a lot of wonderful stakeholders that join these meetings, have great perspective, great ideas, and are helping to move the needle forward with the brand, the website, the messaging, and everything that we want to represent here in the Northland, and then moving forward to the activations. So what is Go North KC? It is exactly that. It is telling people to go north, explore what we have. We are so excited to share with really the world everything that we have to offer. I think this falls nicely as we followed the parks plan, because the parks are a wonderful asset that I'm excited to showcase, and as well as our historic sites. And then the partnership with Platte County allows for a lot of things that we've not been able to do in the past. The top item here, I've got a cooperative agreement. As you saw a month or two ago, we went under agreement with them for the website. So that was step one, and we're moving right along. We're hoping to have those landing pages launched within a week or two. I'm pushing for that to happen, probably not making friends doing so, but it's very exciting. And as soon as we have that launched, we can move into more phases. So that is the first agreement. We will be seeing another agreement coming up here soon. I'm working on a lot of things in the back, behind the scenes with council, with our administrator, with Platte County. You'll have another agreement, a larger agreement, that will be for actually the marketing of Go North KC and the plans for the World Cup. So the unified brand is allowing us to put out one message, one website, to keep things clear and concise for our users, for our visitors and our locals. We are going to have a website that represents all of the municipalities are going to have a chance to have a landing page on that website, really show their points of interest and what makes them unique and special, and how we can drive visitors to their locales. And then the event listings. I'm really excited about. Everything in the Northland's like 20 minutes away, so there's no reason to have such a hard boundary. If somebody's interested in live music, let's show them all the live music north of the river. Let's really, give them something to look at. So we're very excited for that. But it's not just the big events. It's going to give, our smaller municipalities chances to showcase, why they have this really magical farmers market on a Saturday. So we're really very excited about that. The joint marketing effort, I am ecstatic about. We have a grant with the state of Missouri, so does Platte County. We are able to double dip on this grant with this partnership, and the state's been very helpful and supportive of this the whole time. So that's really exciting. Cohesive messaging, we talked about that. Let's make it clear. Let's make it easy for people to access us. But beyond that, this is really something that's kind of turned into a legacy project. It started out with, hey, the World Cup is coming. This is huge. This is bigger than Clay County, bigger than Platte County, bigger than all our cities. We really need to man together to make the most of it for our visitors and our small businesses and our residents. But as we started down this journey, the most amazing thing is, we're hearing feedback from the cities and from the people. We need this in the Northland. This is really exciting. What a great concept. So the amount of support that we're getting behind it, I think that's been the magic all along. And to have this as a legacy project moving forward is extremely exciting. So the local focus, I'm going to touch back on that a little bit. Everything we do, every aspect we take behind the brand and behind the website and behind our marketing is really going to try to spotlight our communities, our residents, our small businesses. So within that, we are going to be pushing local itineraries. We're going to have family-friendly itineraries. We're going to have food and beverage itineraries. We're going to have historic sites, so on and so forth. I mean, there's the outdoor activities, people that want that, the rush, so they can do ROKC, they can do Worlds of Fun. We're going to have something for everyone here that really gives them a lot of great options. Something that I'm really excited to launch, which we can't do until we have a landing page, so God bless the people at Blue Symphony who we're working with, because I'm pushing them very quickly to have this landing page launched, is the digital discount pass. As soon as we launch our landing page, our temporary landing page, we will then be kicking off our digital discount pass. This is a tap into local pass. It's a pass that is absolutely free for our vendors to use, our businesses to use, and it's free for the users. So it is not going to require an app. You can simply scan the QR code and have access to some really great discounts. The pass initially is kicking off in Clay County based on your breweries and your wineries. So we've come up with Tap Into Local, which I'm very excited about. It's going to allow people to not only take advantage of the discount that's offered, but then we've gamified it. So, the feedback we're getting from businesses, it's great to offer a discount, but how do we get them back? What can we do? So now we're taking a step further and offering options for people to earn swag, merch, different things. So you have a regular spot you go to that happens to be on this pass. Well, great, you can earn some coasters, you can earn a t-shirt, you can earn, there's a whole slew of really fun prizes on there. So that's pretty exciting. Local landing pages, talked about that a little bit. Something else we're looking into is a booking portal. We really want to make it very easy for people to book and stay in our region. So there's a few vendors I'm talking to see if they have integrations that will work with the new website to make it very easy for people to stay and book while they're on that website. And then obviously circling back to local events, it's something we're highlighting throughout. I did want to give you a little bit of a high-level look as to what our plan is, where we're at in it, and what you can expect moving forward, and probably when you can see me back here, just giving you updates. So right now, we're in the community outreach phase. So we are on the verge of launching this brand. It's not been pushed out yet. I really was excited to come here today and present it to you all first. We will be doing more chamber meetings, so you might see on some of those chamber calendar meeting invites that we will be speaking, talking about Go North, talking about the project, how they can get involved, and what it can mean for them. That's going to be going on right now. Our brand launch is just right around the corner. As soon as we get that landing page up, that'll be coming next. And of course, I will email all of you and let you know when it's up and running so you can take it, love it, share it, pass it on. And then the website launch, we're looking for Q4, probably truly the very end of this year, given the timeline that we have. And then from there, once that's launched, we'll be diving in full force with our full-blown marketing plan. And that's going to be everything from digital, on your socials, on your Google, but email marketing, you're gonna have in-person marketing, sponsorships, you name it. We're really gonna be rolling at that point, and that's gonna run all the way through the World Cup. And then local activation, that's gonna be working with schools, working with local soccer organizations, anybody and everybody we can reach out to spread this message, get boots on the ground, and in front of more people. And then the watch parties in 2026. So stay tuned on that. We're very busy planning behind the scenes. There's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of questions that we don't have answers to yet because FIFA doesn't have the answers yet. We don't know who's in the tournament. They haven't announced that yet. We don't know who's at base camps. But we are planning everything that we can in the meantime to get these things rolling and to be ahead of the curve when that information does come out. So on that, that's the update today. Do we have questions?
I just want to say I appreciate the hard work you've done, and I'm very happy about the fact that we are reaching out to our fellow Northlanders in Platte County. I think that's a natural alliance and one that I've tried to promote, and I appreciate the fact that we are able to work together on this and other issues. I also want to compliment you on the idea that you've also reached out to our friends in Jackson County south of the river, and we are building those relationships, which is going to be, I believe that we're building those kinds of bridges and those kinds of relationships that are going to bear fruit far beyond this particular event. So thank you very much for what you've been doing. Thank you for the hard work that you put in. And it's just not hard work, but it is intelligent work. Some of us can work hard and get no effect. You are working hard, and I see progress being made, and I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and Megan, good job. And I would note that KIP has a lot of work to do to keep up with the style of presentation. I say that because I know how impressed my colleague is with his presentation skills. Nevertheless, I'll ask you the question that you probably don't have an answer to, because what the heck. A lot of stuff, a lot of things that people can do, but you got to get them there. So how's transit working out?
I mean, I can count on you for the hot button questions, always. So obviously, our friends at the KC26 team, that is a huge item that they're working on, and we're in very close contact with them and finding out, as their plans roll out, how is it going to not only get people to and from the games, but what are they doing for getting people around regionally, which is something that they're touching on. I don't have more details as to what that looks like yet, but on top of that, we are also exploring other options in the Northland. We have been reaching out, I'm not at a place where I can say, this is a route that we're going to take, but there are several options on the table that we're exploring currently, and we're bringing in people with bigger, better brains than myself and more experience than myself to look at all the angles and, maybe this particular vendor can supply the vehicles, maybe this particular vendor can supply software. So we're exploring everything out there and trying to see if we can find a fit for the Northland that can help get people around the region.
Well, I guess I would say I would encourage that. Knowing some of the conversations that are going in Kansas City related to transit, I know also that I think a number of school districts are making their buses available for use as well. Nevertheless, if it does make sense for us to figure out how we can get our own stuff, if that is even possible at this point. But if we're going to maximize the opportunity here in the Northland, we probably have to figure out how we can move those folks. So
it is something we're exploring, yes.
All right. No more of my questions that you don't want to answer, but thank you for answering them anyway. Appreciate your work.
Question I bet you can answer. We have these small pieces of paper at our places. Could you?
Yes, so you are proud new owners of the first Go North KC decals. You can add them to your water bottles or computers or whatever you want. Just a small token of my appreciation for you allowing me to come up here and present tonight and share with you our progress.
Thank you. Now, I'm assuming that this is for informational purposes. There is no instruction sought from the commission on this?
None.
Very good.
No, just informational purposes, to give an update as we go along. Megan and our Platte County colleague gave a presentation yesterday to the city managers through Mark and others, just to kind of keep them abreast. They asked for all of us, and I can say that we represented very well as far as where we are in our preparation for the upcoming event. So.
Thank you. Before we leave this discussion item, any other comments or observations? Seeing none, thank you very much. That brings us to our reports. We have 2 reports. Mr. Administrator, if you'd like to go through those.
Yes, we have 2 reports. One is our auditor's cash basis report, monthly report from July 2025, and the other one is our accounts receivable cash inventory report from August of 2025 as well.
Thank you very much. That brings us to County Administrator comments. If you would like to keep the mic on, proceed.
All right, well, we have, sticking with the parks theme, another asset, KCTA is reopening next Friday, August 22nd at 3 p.m. I know there was a tornado that hit and it's been reconstructed and reopened, and they'll be ready for the reopening next Friday, 22nd. The other one is the Splash Bash. Is Saturday, August 23rd. That's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Paradise Point Marina. End of the summer event that they have each year for the Parks Department. So that'd be it for me this evening.
Thank you very much. We will go ahead and begin with Commissioner comments. Commissioner Lawson?
I'm cleaning my shotgun. I'll be ready to go. I'm excited about this. John, thank you very much for all your hard work. That was really an obstacle out there. This week I attended for the first time ever our Board of Equalization meetings. And it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. It was supposed to be hundreds of people waiting to be heard. So the first day I got to hear a residential and a business. The next day I came, they said, come Wednesday. You won't believe how crowded it's going to be. Not a darn person showed up. So now they're telling me, come back next Monday. You can't believe it's going to be great. So I'm going to give it a go again. But I do want to say on the record, I was so unbelievably impressed with Tracy and his team. You know, the gentlemen who sit on the board, fantastic people. And they were telling me how many years of real estate experience they had, like over 100 years between the 3 of them. But very sharp men, very respectful to our citizens who came in. And Tracy's team were so unbelievably professional. They had their stuff together. You know, the people in the business side of the house, the lady who was speaking for this business was a consultant. And I didn't realize they did that. She got a percentage of how much the taxes got lowered. So if they got lowered $100,000, she got 10% or whatever it might be this year, but she also got it next year because she got it lowered for the next 2 years. Anyway, that was great. And her response to Tracy's team to ask questions, they answered them perfectly, beautifully, and with, you know, just a great deal of respect and very professional. And the same with the residential person. So I'm looking forward to next Monday. Hopefully everybody doesn't cancel again. But it was a great experience, and I'd say all of us should show up.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Well, speaking of showing up, tomorrow morning I'm going to show up to Convocation for the North Kansas City School District. This is their celebration or event to get everyone excited about a new school year, and I raise that because my son starts his senior year on Monday, and I have a feeling that, like me and my wife, there will be many parents that are relieved that school is about to start. But whether you're relieved or not, I want to wish those teachers and those parents, and especially those students, good luck as they start another school year. It's hard to believe that summer, for all intents and purposes, is over, but it's going to end out real hot. So be careful this weekend. Don't get heat stroke because you got school on Monday. And I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, just a quick shout out and a thank you to our Road and Bridge Director, Tom Degenhardt. He showed up at a Kansas City, their folks were putting on a community input meeting for a major road project they have going on in their city, but it dead ends right into the county's side. And there's a lot of concerns from a lot of the folks out there on both sides of the line. And Tom showed up to represent the county. He did a great job, and a lot of people were glad that he was out there, so I appreciate him being, even though it's not our project, it's completely Kansas City's. He showed up and was there, and I know a lot of people appreciate that. I appreciate that. I was there as well. So just want to say thanks to Tom.
Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Carpenter.
Well, I'll just follow up on Commissioner Wagner's point. I'll be there with you in the morning at convocation. You know, one of the things that I think we're really blessed with here in the Northland is to have really great schools. You know, between really great public safety and really great schools, I think these are probably the top two most important things to people, and the things that they most probably associate with living here in the Northland. And obviously it's our obligation to preserve those things into the future. And so kiddos are going back to school, that's great. We got great schools, and want to give a shout out to the staff too. There are thousands of employees of North Kansas City School District, thousands of them. One, you mentioned the buses being used for the World Cup. One of them is school bus driver Brian Baldwin, who's my uncle. So he'll be back to driving the bus on Monday, and he'll be there at convocation with the thousands of other staff members as well. And in fact, I think 4 out of the 7 of us are graduates of North Kansas City School District. Commissioner Nolte Wagner from Oak Park, and me from North Kansas City, and Commissioner Withington from Winnetonka. So, and it's the, you know, I think I've probably said it before, but it's the second biggest school district in the state of Missouri, and is on course to become the biggest school district in the state of Missouri if trends continue. So we're very proud of it, and look forward to celebrating that tomorrow. Thanks.
I didn't really want to have anything I was going to say, but something during the course of this evening's meeting that occurred to me, and that is this. There was a theme running through. We had a lot of different issues, whether we were talking about parks, or whether we were talking about the sheriff's grant program, or any of the other things that we talked about, certainly Megan's efforts on the World Cup. And that is this. We have a stellar staff, led by, obviously, our administrator, Damon. And I think that it is a really proud moment when we can sit here as commissioners and hear story after story, whether it's yours that you related about Tracy Baldwin, that right down the line, we have the pleasure of working with such a fantastic staff that is accomplishing so much. We can do some things up here, and we can do our part, but at the end of the day, the really hard work, the heavy lift is coming from those men and women out there. John, obviously, what you've been doing is huge. This was a big night to be producing that report. And I apologize, I'm leaving people out. And I apologize that that's the risk you run when you start calling people out. But everybody has been performing in such a stellar manner. I think we are all, as commissioners, very proud of the government and the operations that we are overseeing. And it is due in extremely large part to those men and women who are out there working every day. So thank you so much for what you are doing. With that, we are adjourned.